Singapore, Osaka and Hong Kong share the title of most expensive city in the world. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit's 2020 Worldwide Cost of Living Survey. The biannual survey, which evaluates the cost of more than 160 items, such as food, drink, transport, utility bills and rent in 133 cities around the world, has been carried out for more than 30 years. Let's take a look at the top 5 cities for highest cost of living. Number 5. Zurich, Switzerland. Zurich's housing market is tight with few rental properties available, 0.06% in the city of Zurich. The high demand for housing cannot readily be met, so new accommodation is constantly being constructed in the suburbs. Less expensive accommodation can be found on the outskirts of Zurich such as Schlieren, Dietikon, and Winterthur. An average 2-bedroom apartment in Zurich will be in the price range of 3,300 Swiss francs. A studio will cost around 2,500 Swiss francs. Despite these high prices, Zurich scores well in terms of public transport accessibility and tax rates. Charges and utilities include building heating costs and maintenance and are usually added to the monthly rent. Initial charges are partial and the actual usage is calculated later, then invoiced or refunded. Electricity is billed directly to the tenant. A deposit of up to the equivalent of 3 months' rent is payable to finalize the contract. Using public transport and buying at seasonal sales are ways to save money in Zurich. Other ways of saving money in Zurich include choosing when and where to shop, and taking advantage of discounts and special offers. Number 4. Paris, France. Housing is by far the biggest expense when you're calculating the cost of living in Paris. The city is very desirable, and already densely populated. This combo has pushed housing prices through the roof in recent years throughout most of Paris and surrounding suburbs. But in reality, the cost of living all depends on your lifestyle, and your situation. Groceries are an important factor to consider if you're trying to figure out the cost of living in Paris. And in my experience, Paris's expensive housing prices are more than compensated for by the city's affordable groceries. But one of the strange things about Paris is, the grocery store prices vary wildly from one neighborhood to the next. Even within the same chain. I suggest spending some time exploring the supermarkets near you and find the one you think has the best deals. With regards to transport, Paris is actually one of the least expensive cities I've ever been to. An unlimited monthly pass, or Navigo, will cost you just €75, or €39 if you're a student. The pass allows you to use Paris's extensive public transport network of subway, metro, bus, tram and even city bikes. Paris metro network here is actually one of the largest and most efficient in the world. In the metro, you can get pretty much anywhere in Paris in under 30 minutes. The average cost of utilities like gas, water, and electricity really depends on where you live, and how big your apartment is. Normally, you can count on paying between €35 and €50 a month for a studio apartment, usually 30 square meters or less. For a 1-bedroom flat, the cost goes up to €70 a month on average. Of course, the bigger your flat, the higher the costs. Sometimes, the utilities cost is built into the rental price, so be sure to ask your landlord for specifics. Number 3. New York, USA. The high cost of living in NYC starts with its crazy housing market. According to a March 2019 report from Apartment List, the median rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is $2,499 in New York City. Studio and 1-bedroom apartments come in at $1,889 and $2,098 a month, respectively. The classic dilemma of buy versus rent always comes up regardless of where you're living. In the case of New York City, a single-family home in the New York metro area has a median sales price of $403,900, based on 2018 data from the National Association of Realtors. While this might sound favorable, remember that the metro area consists of not only New York City proper, but also the nearby areas that surround it. Buying in the city itself can be much pricier, especially if you want to live near the city center. It's not unheard of to spend more than $1 million for a 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. If you want to know how much house you can afford, stop by SmartAsset's Home Affordability Calculator. Whether you rent or buy, you'll have to cover the cost of utilities. According to Numbeo.com data from May 2019, the average basic utilities package for a 915 square foot place in New York costs $145.55. That includes heating, electricity, water and garbage, and is about $7 less than the U.S. average for a month of basic utilities, $152.02. After housing, the number one expense for most Americans is transportation. For car owners, that's the cost of buying, maintaining, insuring, fueling and storing their vehicle. If you use public transit, you'll be on the hook for a transit pass, and possibly parking, if you need to drive to pick up the bus or train. According to Numbeo.com data from May 2019, groceries in New York City usually cost about $471.34 a month, per person. For the U.S. as a whole, the average is almost $150 cheaper, at $324.20. Of course, New York City is famed for its restaurant scene, and those who choose to dine out regularly will see their food budget soar. Number 2. Hong Kong, China. While many aspire to live in Hong Kong for the affluent lifestyle and exciting career opportunities, it all comes at a price. Hong Kong has the fourth highest cost of living plus rent in the world. It is beaten only by the Cayman Islands, Bermuda and Switzerland according to Numbeo's index. Therefore, it is the most expensive region in all of Asia in which to live. A country's demand for space is a major factor in what expats can expect to pay for housing when migrating. As noted in the table above, the countries with the highest cost of living plus rent are those that are geographically smaller, Hong Kong included. It is important to bear in mind that given the density of the tiny region, a property with space will come with a much bigger price tag. Hong Kong is known for its safe and friendly neighborhoods, with a rental market that charges a premium for those attributes. Travel site Culture Trip states that monthly rent starts at 5,000 Hong Kong dollars, but those looking to find a nice studio or shared flat can expect to pay around 10,000 Hong Kong dollars. It has already been established that space is limited in Hong Kong residences. As with some other regions in Asia, property cannot technically be bought here. All property is owned by the government. A long-term 50-year lease operates in place of sale agreements. This rent is paid annually to the government and is usually 10% under the property's value. When considering living in such a small space, one might think that getting around will be easy. However, the population density of Hong Kong means the very opposite. The city can get cramped and congested during peak traffic times. Keeping a car in operation can be very costly in Hong Kong, with the country's petrol prices being the most expensive in the world. Number 1. Osaka, Japan. The cost of living in Osaka, as usual, depends a lot on your living expectations, since everyone has a unique perception of what a decent life means, from type and quantity of food to size and comfort of your living space. The most expensive thing about Osaka, as usual, is the rents. If you take care of that, other aspects of living there are of pretty decent value. Many people living in Osaka say that if you can spend only half of your salary for rental, and save the other half for transportation, groceries, recreation and utilities, then you'll probably be able to live comfortably. The good thing about Osaka is that you can find good deals on meat at markets, cheap Japanese veggies and some very expensive fruit. Japanese supermarkets offer cheap, fresh and versatile products, and if you plan on cooking all month, it will cost around $400 monthly. Cooking your food is much cheaper than eating out in restaurants. Public transportation is cheap, well organized and abundant, but count on all prices going up at least 30% in Tokyo. Apart from that, another good thing is that most companies bear for your traveling expense. Otherwise, you can estimate it to be around $100 a month, all depending on your traveling routine. Utilities aren't exactly through the roof, but they aren't cheap either. If you live in a larger apartment of about 85 square meters, the basic utilities like gas, electricity, heating and cooling will cost you around $150, which is less than Japan's average. The price of the bills goes up during winters and summers. Heating and cooling affect your wallet greatly.
I think I'm falling for you.